I would say from an industrialized AI ML strategy, we do use the Microsoft stack fairly predominantly. And for the more smaller scale experimentation, we would use Python for that.
Okay, excellent. And then we hear a lot about Databricks and Snowflake as sort of different options for serving up some of these, especially for machine learning, implement or use cases. Are any of these tools sort of, I guess, sparking your interest there, or being in use in your organization, or what do you see these players doing to the space with data science? I guess the lake house concept is what I'm talking about. And
yeah. So we do work with Databricks as part of the overall Microsoft stack. So we work with that as a module within the Microsoft stack. And essentially, there is a lot of work around how we've utilized and optimized some of the pipelines using Databricks to how we can really reduce the number of manual interventions for any solution that we're driving. So right from the data that's being housed in the data lakes, all the way to delivering the solution, to the end users through either a visualization platform or another output tool. How do we reduce the number of touches, the human touches or the manual interventions that are required? And we have been able to realize quite a bit of efficiency around that. So I'd say 5 years ago, for key data sets, second and third party, sometimes first party as well, we had lead times as much as 96 hours in some cases, because you had 3 different teams that were essentially sort of manually handling a lot of the data, even though it existed in data lakes, in order to process it in some form, run some pipelines, and then sort of deliver the solution. And with the use of Databricks and through a lot of the work that we've done internally in our data engineering capabilities, we've been able to bring that down to a couple of hours in the last few years. So a lot of progress on that, and really been able to bring to life some of the data in as much of a real time as possible.
Yeah, excellent. So this is all about speed and ease of use, and trying to streamline the process so it's not quite as manual or involved. What about pricing? Does pricing come into play with some of these tools? We hear that sort of something that needs some practice and dialing in to get right with some of these data warehousing or data lake type of vendors, especially for data science cases, which can be pretty data intensive.
Yeah, so I think there is probably a myth, within the industry that utilizing data lakes and cloud-based data management tools is almost always going to be cost effective. That isn't always true.
Right.
I think a data lake can easily be reduced to a data swamp in many cases, and there's a strong governance that's required in order to maintain the sort of the value proposition of what a data lake stands for, if you're looking to drive something like a single version of truth. And there are a lot of cases where it just doesn't make sense for us to utilize some of these solutions when you're industrializing it. So I think there's a lot of rigor behind how we look at costs, and we've been able to make some progress because, like most other large companies, we do have fairly strong and aggressive goals in terms of what we want to drive in terms of efficiency and savings to invest back into the business in the form of more analytics tools, solutions, etc. So that is something that is a key value driver for me. So as a person that manages a P&L, I want to make sure that my infrastructure costs are as efficient as possible, and I'll continue to drive more efficiency towards that, so that I can take that and drive that to fuel more growth through, through other solutions, through other experimentations, through other things that we're doing.
Yeah, excellent. And then you mentioned also the governance issues, right? And we talked a bit about data cataloging. You have a homebrewed solution that's working for you. When we talk about governance, we talk about other broader issues that sort of melt in, which is issues of security and identity and access management, and really role-based governance, right, is sort of kind of one slice of this. Some of the vendors out there, and you may or may not be as familiar with them or use them, but that really specialize in these broad, full service, full range governance applications, like the Informaticas of the world, or some of these other tools are trying to grow in that area. Do you have any thoughts on some of those tools? Do you use them? Have you thought about using them? Why did you choose to or not to? Kind of curious to hear your thoughts on that space, because it seems to be a rapidly evolving set of features among the different competitors.
Yeah, absolutely. So we do work with Informatica, and
Okay.
what I would say is that from a data governance perspective, I had the opportunity to build the program from the ground up about 3.5 years ago or so.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously coming from a lens where data governance existed in different forms, to really evolve it into the role-based data governance, as you spoke about. So who are the data custodians, who are the data stewards, who are the data owners, and really not just assign the responsibility and the roles, but also ensure that they are active parts of the ecosystem that are contributing, creating and also maintaining, some of the data out there. And I think the data governance program for us is, while it is a defensive priority, it is something which is fairly large in terms of what it can drive value for us. And clearly, a lot of organizations, including us, are looking at data as an asset. And when you start doing that, there is a huge focus on data governance. So I would say that within my organization itself, there are markets and functions which are at varying levels of maturity when it comes to data governance. And there is an opportunity to standardize it with solution providers like an Informatica, who can, come in and, sort of bring in that level of standardization, because they have a set sort of process. They have a very robust, way that they've approached the whole data governance space in. So I think, yeah, I would say that data governance is probably going to continue to be a large priority for us.
Yeah.